Let us explore what science has to say about meditation and love. This evening's lesson is drawn from a good-hearted question found on Reddit. The question begins, guided meditation for loving everyone? The question continues. Oh, wait a second. Get to turn off a timer. Okay. Can anyone recommend a guided meditation that will help me to love everyone? I think this one. Help me love every human being on the planet. My job requires me to work with and provide help to a lot of people. Many of whom are people that I fundamentally disagree with and dislike. So first off, I want to say bravo for being honest with yourself about who you like and who you don't like. So many times we can be so enthusiastic to be super loving that we forget to be honest with ourselves. And that can create a shit ton of problems. The first of 7 enlightenment factors is mindfulness, which means being honest with what we feel, at least to ourselves. Let's continue. My whole life, I have tried to treat everyone with kindness and respect. I was raised Christian. Although I don't consider myself particularly religious, I still believe that I should love everyone. So let's explore that. What does it mean to love everyone? Is love an emotion? Is love sentimentality? Does that mean love mean that whenever we look at someone who may be flipping us the bird or saying horribly misogynistic things, that we should just our heart should just burst with bliss? Is that what love is? Or is love simply an intention to meet others' needs in the most sustainable way as best we can? The more I do this job, the more I am faced with having to be kind to people who are bigoted, narcissistic, and to be honest, just downright annoying. I want to learn to love these people. Excuse me. So that I can be better at my job and happier in my life. But I'm finding it really difficult right now. Listen, if I had a hand, I would take it off to you. Because so many people are so busy bullshitting about it. How awesome they are. Blah, blah, blah. The very fact that you're saying, I should be more loving. I'd like to be more loving. I don't know how. That's amazing. That I can work with. So what I'm looking for is a guided meditation that will help me to recognize the humanity of these people and feel the love for them that deep down I know they need. Well, that's just beautiful. Chef's kiss. Well done. So I would like to help you with the particulars. This is what I've been focusing on the majority of my adult life. I would love to give you the cliff notes for how to do that. So let us begin with broad brushstrokes. Now, I am disabled, and I probably am almost out of spoons right now. So if I start slurring, I apologize. If I have to cut this short, I apologize. That's a distinct possibility. But what I have, I will gladly share with you, though imperfect it may be. Let's begin with Sturgeon's Law. 90% of everything sucks, and not in the fun, tingly way. So 90% of techniques suck. 90% of people suck. Even 90% of meditation teachers suck. Why is that? The suckiness of human beings comes down to yang and yin. The sucky folk are stuck in being rigid, fearful, superstitious, controlling, elitist, cryptic, competitive, and cruel. The really cool, groovy folk are flexible, loving, rational, laid back, egalitarian, lucid, cooperative, and kind. And of course, who we are can shift from one category to the other. But when people who are characteristically rigid and controlling turn their attention to the wide world of meditation, they typically make the same mistakes. I know I made the same mistakes when I first started out. The boo-boo that they typically make is this. They'll say, I'm going to actively concentrate, or I'm going to actively visualize, or I'm going to actively analyze, and convince myself of the logic of loving everyone. Now, the only way we can do that is to rely upon discrete mechanisms, such as those found in our medial prefrontal cortex or our dorsolateral prefrontal cortex. Now, the prefrontal cortex is jim dandy if you want to compare, contrast, analyze, calculate, edit. It's fabulous. But, like a Stradivarius, it's high-strung. And it doesn't take much to fatigue it. It's not a muscle. And once we fatigue it, our amygdala gets stimulated. The amygdala is this lumpy thing right here. It looks like a blueberry or an almond. Here it is, right here. This amygdala is the seat of aggression and anxiety. It feeds our rigidity and our controlling tendencies. So can you see the irony of, with the best of intentions, concentrating on love or analyzing why everyone deserves love, only to wind up stimulating the organelle which is going to undermine love? This is not unique to you. This is universal for all complex life forms on this planet. This is universal for every living being with a central nervous system. Yes, even sloths. But there's some good news. I'm going to share some good news with you. The way to meditate in harmony with the Buddha's teachings is not in reliance upon our prefrontal cortex, but instead upon our autonomic nervous system, which is divided between the parasympathetic and the sympathetic. Let us begin with mindfulness. Every time we inhale, whether we know it or not, we are accessing the sympathetic nervous system found in the middle third of our spinal cord. This bad boy has evolved to help us to perceive in a very special way, to help us perceive vulnerably, passively, viscerally, randomly, and fleetingly. Perceive what? Perceive sights, sounds, sensations, flavors, scents, and the like, but also to perceive emotions, intentions, thoughts, memories, and imaginings. Now, that might sound a little overwhelming, and sometimes it can be, but here's some more good news. And it's about meditation, because every time we exhale, whether we know it or not, we wind up accessing our parasympathetic nervous system, which is found in both the lower third as well as the upper third of that same spinal cord. This parasympathetic nervous system has evolved to help us both physically relax as well as mentally release. Now you might say, dude, if that's the case, then why aren't I just naturally mellow all the time? Why do I feel like jumping about like the Tasmanian devil in a Bugs Bunny cartoon? In a word, Urkel. Due to a quirk of evolution, our brain is as crowded with organelles as a hoarder's storage facility is cluttered with tchotchkes and bric-a-brac. And constantly, and just as Urkel was always knocking stuff over and then asking, did I do that? Similarly, this thing is as crowded as a clown car in a 3-ring circus. But here's some good news. Would you like some good news? Check this out. Every time we silently, mentally, and passively recite the demonstrative pronoun this during our inhalation, it induces this big old brain to spontaneously cooperate with our sympathetic nervous system. Similarly, again, every time we silently, mentally, and passively recite the one-syllable verb ease during our exhalation, it helps our entire brain to cooperate with our parasympathetic nervous system. So this is why the ancients have insisted that words lead intention and intention leads mind. Wild, isn't it? There's something as simple as 2 English monosyllabic words can optimize the functioning of our mind. Now, you might say, that's all well and good, but aren't I trying to get loving? Yes, you are. So check this out. Remember how I mentioned when we overuse our prefrontal cortex, it excites our amygdala and we get extra anxious and extra aggressive? Think angry chimpanzee. Well, here's the good news. If this is our inner chimpanzee, this thing here is our inner bonobo. Bonobos are as laid back and groovy as chimps are psychotic. This thing that kind of looks like a backwards version of the letter C is known as the anterior cingulate gyrus. It functions as the hub of our mirror neurons and the seat of empathy and compassion and love. How do we stimulate this? By cooperating with our sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous systems. So, when we do a guided meditation rich in visualization or heavy in willpower, we're exhausting our prefrontal cortex. But when we simply cooperate with our ability to perceive and our ability to release, then automatically we experience greater empathy. Now, there's all kinds of love. There's the love we talk ourselves into, the love that's based on belief. But according to the late Tulku Thondup and also Dilgo Khyentse Rinpoche, the highest love is spontaneous and uncontrived. And when people are being screaming behemoths, you need that spontaneous love. But here's the thing. When people start screaming at you, for hundreds and thousands of years we have evolved to go into a fight and flight mode. And you can't prevent that. You cannot repress it successfully. But what you can do is you can recognize what you feel, whether it's glorious or whether it's grotesque, whether it's interesting or whether it's boring, and you can release it simply through the power of breathing and wordplay. And that will make you so much more loving. You've heard me mention several times that the Buddha taught 7 enlightenment factors. The 7th one was balance, or equanimity, if you want to be fancy pants. What balance means here is that we have the same antidote for everything. What's the universal antidote? You guessed it, perceiving and releasing. It is the great irony is that the Buddha might have taught an 8-fold path, but it's simply mindfulness and meditation that that cause the remaining 6 other folds to manifest, which is pretty cool. All enlightenment is mastery of the 8-fold path, being able to practice it spontaneously, habitually, easily, and effectively. And the Buddha said that was possible in as little as a week. So let's be realistic. Let's pretend the first week you can manage sitting for 5 minutes every 12 hours or so. That's fine. Perhaps the second week you'll hunger to sit for 10 minutes. Perhaps the third week for 15 minutes. Progressively, gently, and gradually, and by the conclusion of the 12th week, sitting for 60 minutes every 12 hours or so could feel like child's play. There's no need to pray to anyone or anything. There's no need to believe in anyone or anything. Simply dance with the neural architecture that evolution has presented you, and you can quickly become the person that your dog already thinks you are. I would very much like to spend some time with you chanting and meditating, because I think that's kind of fun. So let's do that together as a team after approximately 30 seconds of housekeeping. This is Lama Jigme Gyatso of the Buddha Joy Meditation School. Once again, I apologize for the boo-boo face. For more than 30 years, I spent about 8 hours a day, almost every day, studying, practicing, mastering, and reverse engineering all the teachings and techniques of each school of meditation so that you will not have to. Welcome, my friends, to Meditate Like a Jedi, which is made possible due to the generosity of viewers just like you. I think it could be great fun to play with the latest iteration of All Good Ones Easy Meditation. The All Good Ones are merely archetypes. So let's explore this briefly. Let us demystify the archetypes. The archetype's nudity reminds us of vulnerability, crucial to mindfulness. Their translucence reminds us of non-graspability, the wisdom of meditation. Their beauty reminds us of empathy. His solidness, as well as her abandon, reminds us of centered spontaneity. Let us bring the four bases of mindfulness into wisdom's figurative practice of the rainbow body. Please chant with me. Rather than indulge or controlling tendencies with the follies of active visualization, emotion, magic, and belief, we could just recite these wise words in harmony with our breathing and allow our subconscious to do the heavy lifting. Let us sidestep the rigidity that confuses metaphors for statements literal, and relax into the flexibility that savors the chance explaining metaphors as similes. Let us review the meaning of this 12-syllable mantra. I invoke teachers from action or meditation in whom view that the Benza Guru teachers pay my enlightenment and city abilities whom may me bastard by on. So this isn't a wonderful sentence, but it's basically roughly translating the meaning of each syllable, or of each portion of the mantra. Please chant with me. And this is going to be a rhetorical question. How could visible circumstances or lots be as impermanent and interdependent as if they could blissfully melt into rainbow light that could delightfully absorb into this body or form? Oh, here's an idea. Do bear with me a moment. Oh, that's much better. Okay. Fabulous. So what we're going to do, allow me to deconstruct this for you. We use the verb melt as a metaphor of impermanence. We use the verb absorb as a metaphor of interdependence. Notice how instead of using a hard verb like is, we use a soft verb phrase like could be. And now explore the irony of transcending self-centeredness by exercising self-centeredness, exploring how weird it could be if all circumstances melted into our body. So this is delicious. This is an exercise in irony. So now that we've played with all these words, we can condense them down into just 6 words, which we divide between our inhalation and our exhalation. Now that we're somewhat comfortable with these 6 words, we can blend them with mantra. As we breathe in, we can silently and mentally and passively recite these words. As we exhale, we can physically relax as best we can into the verbal recitation. Let's try this again. As we exhale, we can physically relax as best we can as we strive to chant these 12 syllables 4 times per breath. And if this is your first time hanging out with me or hoonging out with me, please give yourself permission to have a learning curve. Om Ahum Benzo Guru Me Maziri Hum Om Ahum Benzo Guru Me Maziri Hum Om Ahum Benzo Guru Me Maziri Hum Om Ahum Benzo Guru Me Maziri Hum. Here we go. Om Ahum Benzo Guru Me Maziri Hum 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 Om Ahum Benzo Guru Me Maziri Hum. How could sensual bodies or forms be as impermanent and interdependent, as if they could blissfully melt into rainbow light that could delightfully absorb into this communication or speech? Om Ahum Benzo Guru Me Maziri Hum 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 Om Ahum Benzo Guru Me Maziri Hum. How could resounding interpersonal speech be as impermanent and interdependent, as if it could blissfully melt into rainbow light that could delightfully absorb into this mind? maziri hung. Om Ahum Benzo Guru Me 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 Maziri hung. How could lucid minds be as impermanent and interdependent? Ooh, look at this. Another editing opportunity, eh, kids? How could lucid minds be as impermanent and interdependent? As if they could blissfully melt into rainbow light that could delightfully absorb into a vast empty void. Like the illusion of the infinite azure sky on a bright and beautiful cloudless morn, which, although tantalizing to the eye, could be non-graspable to the hand. Okay, so let's take this bad boy and adjust it thusly. Ah, okay. Well, that's just fun. If you're a word nerd like me, yeehaw. Okay, well, now that I've broken the momentum with my editing frenzy, let us start from the top. How could loosened minds be as impermanent and interdependent, as if they could blissfully melt into rainbow light that could delightfully absorb into a vast empty void? Like the illusion of the infinite azure sky on a bright and beautiful cloudless morn, which, although tantalizing to the eye, could be non-graspable to the hand. And I'm going to adjust the display because it probably just went berserk. Om Mahum Benzo Guru Mimaziri Hung 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 Om Mahum Benzo Guru Mimaziri Hung. Let us bring whatever we spontaneously notice into the path of awareness and release. We're going to do this in 4 sets of approximately 48 rounds of breath. So to count our first collection of 48 rounds, or to keep track of our first collection of 48 rounds, we can use the tip of our left index finger to trace the back of our right index finger down to its great knuckle. We can rest the great knuckle at the base of our right index finger gingerly upon the tip of our left index finger in our lap. And doing so will help, or could help, our real or imagined subtle energy to coalesce at our crown. Pretty cool, eh? So how do we count 48 rounds? Simple. It's just 4 sets of 12. Well, how do we count 12? Glad you asked. Every time we inhale, we can advance the tip of our right thumb to the next set of creases, beginning with the index finger, then making our way to the little finger. That's 12. On our right hand, we can count sets of 12. Our first set of 12 rounds, or second set of 12 rounds, or third set of 12 rounds, or fourth set of 12 rounds, all the while supporting, gently, gingerly supporting the great knuckle of our right index finger with the tip of our left. Now, if this sounds confusing, if this sounds like I'm asking you to walk a straight line while chewing gum, I am. But play with this once every 12 hours for a fortnight and you'll be fine. We now proceed to our second collection of 48 rounds, which we're going to keep track of by using the tip of our left middle finger to trace the back of our right middle finger till we reach the great knuckle at its base. This will help us to develop a coordination to gingerly rest the great knuckle of the base of our right middle finger upon the tip of our left middle finger. As a fringe benefit, this will help our subtle energies to coalesce at our heart wheel, or dharma wheel, which is horizontal, about the size of a thumbnail, and about the thumb's width before our spine. we can access Ratna Sambhava Karma Mudras from earth elements by at our navel. I should probably add that, shouldn't I? Let's add that there. So we can access the Ratnasambhava Karma Mudantram earth elements at our navel by taking the tip of our left ring finger, dragging it or tracing it along the back of our right ring finger until it comes to rest upon the great knuckle of the base of the right ring finger. And thus we can collect our hands at our lap. Oof. So, what is the effortless way to access the Amagosadi karma, to access Amagosadi's karma mudra, Amagosadi karma mudra's wind element at our secret wheel between our navel and our pelvis? Using the tip of our little finger, we can trace the back of our right little finger until it comes to rest upon the great knuckle at the base of that right little finger. We can fold our hands then in our lap, right hand upon the left. Having completed the silent meditation, we now come to the final quarter of this evening's practice, where we bring the four bases of mindfulness, the circumstantial, the mental, the interpersonal, and the physical, into the practice of love and release. This is known as Tokal's leap over the confusion of jealousy. One moment. I got to wet my whistle. Please chant with me. Rather than indulge our controlling tendencies with the follies of active visualization, emotion, magic, and belief, we could just recite these kind words in harmony with our breathing and allow our subconscious to do the heavy lifting. Let us sidestep the rigidity that confuses metaphors for statements literal, and instead relax into the flexibility that savors the chance explaining metaphors as similes. Together. May our circumstances, our lots of all beings now have the safe good fortune or boon, as a Buddha's real or imagined paradise, Purland or Vati. So notice the use of the word as. This signifies that we're using a simile. We're using the idea of a real or imagined paradise simply as a way of illustrating the idea of safety and good fortune. And of course, as we're chanting this, we can't help but think about people enduring sexism, racism, classism, fascism, jingoism, and genocide at home and abroad. We can take all these words and reduce them down to just 6 syllables, divided between our inhalation and our exhalation. Now that we're more comfortable with these 6 syllables, we can recite them silently, mentally, and passively during our inhalation. Oopsie, wrong button. During our exhalation, we can physically relax as best we can as we strive to chant this 12-syllable mantra 4 times per breath. Now, if this is your first time hanging out with me or hanging out with me, please give yourself permission to have a learning curve. Om Mahum Benzo Guru Me Maziri Hum. 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 May all clear minds of all beings know be as peacefully enlightened as the mind of a real or imagined Buddha symbolized by a tikle one syllable zero bija mantra. Om Ahum Benzo Guru Me Maziri Hung. 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 May all relationships, all speech of all beings know be as joyfully loving as a real or imagined Buddha speech symbolized by a horizontal mala mantra. Om Ahum Benzo Guru Me Maziri Hung. 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 May all bodies or forms of all beings know enjoy the beautiful health seen in Buddhist statuary, depicting the blissful body of a real or imagined Yadama and archetype of enlightenment such as Kuntu Zangpo. Om Ahum Benzo Guru Me Maziri Hung. 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 us conclude this evening's practice by chanting the wishes for the preservation of the Buddha's teachings. May every meditation teacher truly understand the Buddha's teachings and practice master as well as teach them generously, lovingly, and wisely in the manner of centered spontaneity. May all meditation teachers spontaneously receive generous patrons, enthusiastic students, as well as devoted apprentices. And may many Dharma centers likewise be successfully planted, nurtured, and supported. If you feel that I have earned it, you could give this live stream a thumbs up. You could even help support this channel. In approximately 10 and 2/3 hours, I would very much like to return to lead tomorrow's early meditation class and group practice. And if you are as geeky as me, may the Force be with you always.